We'll take your questions, those of you who have sent it. That's as much as we can. But let me start off with this one. How is your ministry working with states? Because for this program to go as fast as possible, where we won't have people saying, look, I haven't seen this and that, the states have to come in.
Well, I think if you go and ask the governors, and they are going to be here today,
okay,
you will find out that in the history of this country, you've never seen a better relationship between the federal government, agriculture, and the state ministries of agriculture. When at the start of this administration, I made a decision that, agriculture is not done in the offices in Abuja. Agriculture is what's done on the ground. You've got to be there on the ground. It's one of the the first fundamental institutional reforms we did was to decentralize the federal ministry of agriculture. So today we have 36 state offices, and we have 6 regional offices that takes care of all the office clusters in the 6 geopolitical zones. That allows us to work very closely with the state governments. It allows us to monitor and evaluate our programs better. It allows us to reach our farmers and know what's working, what's not working. It also allows us to be able, to respond rapidly to things as they happen on the ground. And so today, every single state, take for example, I was just in Delta State just about 2 weeks ago for the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Yeah. And I was met at the airport by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, and he was carrying with him COOs for land that the government was given us for 6,000 hectares to do cassava production and to installation of also high-quality cassava flour processing plant for his state. You go to Kogi State, for example. The Kogi State governor has been wonderful. I mean, when we started dry season cultivation, he put his money, he's not a rich state, by the way, but he put his money where his mouth was. And he cleared land, and fantastic rice production went up in the state. We supported them with access to seed, access to fertilizer, water pumps for their farmers. We found disabled farmers in the state, all of a sudden going into rice production. You go to Kebbi State. Kebbi State government invested heavily in infrastructure, heavily in supporting, complementing federal government all across the country, whether it is from Ekiti State to Lagos State to Katsina State to Sokoto State, Zamfara State, you name it. Why? The democracy of the stomach is a right of every Nigerian.
In all of this
sort of and so we're working very, very closely. In fact, there is no state in the country today that we're not working very closely with, because they've got farmers, and I want to make sure their farmers get what belongs to them.
What comes to mind here, Sir Tibotin, because we're trying to see how much we can cover. Not enough time, loads of questions here for you. Manpower, a whole lot of young people, men and women in the country who started agriculture in school, out of school, passionate on helping build the system with the government and different governments at all levels. Have you been able to reach out to some of these young people?
Well, one of the things that the president said that really gets me excited is that, we've got a lot of young people, and we've got to create jobs, and we've got to start now. Now, yesterday, the president launched the Youth Employment in Agriculture program. And you saw yesterday, they're called Nagropreneurs. You saw all those guys. They're young, smart graduates. And these are the people that are going to be the young entrepreneurial, agribusiness entrepreneurs and also commercial farmers for Nigeria. So many of them came from banking industry. They're going back into agriculture, commercial agriculture. That's the point. Agriculture is a money-making business. Think about it. The former president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, was a farmer. And the richest people in Europe are farmers. And that's what I keep saying. It is a business. It's not a development activity. And so when you see the young people going there, yesterday we listened to a young man called Adegoke. Only 1 year since he started. He is now employing 65 people. Listen to Mosnola, for example, with all the farms that he's doing. Yesterday, when the president launched the Youth Employment and Agriculture Program, that program is going to produce 750,000 young commercial farmers and agri-business entrepreneurs, which we're calling Nagropreneurs for Nigeria. They will be like your black belt farmers. You need to have a middle class that's actually involved in agriculture, and that's what they are going to do. So whether you have done agriculture or you haven't done agriculture, agriculture and a business is open for all. What will that program do? First, it will provide access to technical training so that you know what the business is about. Business training, access to land. Coming back to your point with state, we're going to work
Perhaps the Land Use Act.
yeah, but we're going to work with every state government. I get calls all the time for state governments that have lined up for the program because they've got youth that they're going to do. Take, for example, Ekiti State. You know, we started with the government of Ekiti State way back on what they call a young commercial program. They have it in Ondo State. They have it in Kano State. They have it in Lagos State. They have it in Sokoto. Everywhere. Every state has it. So what we want to do, really, is to create this, and each one of them, if they employ 10 people at 750,000, that's 7 million people that you put to work. That's the power of agriculture. You create jobs all across the value chain. And I believe the future of Nigeria's agriculture rests with those youth.
All right, let's bring in Oluwafemi Dada's question. So many of them here. We'll see how much we can take. He says, GES notifications get to farmers, but ADP office says they don't have fertilizers. Is there anyone they could get across to sort this out?
Femi, well, actually, it's not the ADP offices that actually sell fertilizer. That's the old model where government was distributing fertilizers. It is the agro dealers, it is the input suppliers that actually sell fertilizer. If you are a registered farmer, we have, with the state governments, identified areas that are called redemption centers. The farmers go there. All you got to do is you have your mobile phone, and you receive all your alerts, and you just send it, to the input retailer. And that person confirms it, and that's it. You pick up your bag of fertilizer and walk away. So what he needs to do is to change that thing. There's no government selling fertilizer. It should go to the accredited agro dealers in his particular area for doing that.
All right, then there's this one. Olufemi Obembe says, does government have price support for agricultural products? I mean, time and again, we hear people talk about the fact that local produced rice are more expensive than imported ones.
Well, I think the issue of supporting farmers with guaranteed minimum price is very important. Check, for example, the dry season rice. Just coming back to that for a moment. For all the rice that our farmers produce, there are a bunch of guys who just basically say, well, you guys produce all the rice, we don't care. We just want to bring in cheap rice from India. India produced 17.5 million metric tons of rice, heavily subsidized rice. They spend over $12 billion in supporting their farmers. And so you can actually get this cheap rice. And they go, oh, no, we want to bring in more rice. And we said, no, go and buy the rice from our own farmers. Why would you leave our own farmers and go and bring in rice from elsewhere? And so that's on one side. On this other side, we decided to actually do a buyback program to buy back some of that rice into our own strategic grain reserve, so which actually allows the farmers to find a market and stabilize the prices for them. We are going to be developing a commodity exchange soon, and with different warehouses, which also make it easier for our farmers. But just on that rice story, there's a particularly interesting one, which is, somebody said, well, we went to Lagos and we couldn't find local rice. Gee, I'm like, where have you been looking? Lagos State has a mill which produces what they call eco rice. Right? Governor Fashola in Lagos bought 17 trailer loads of rice paddy for his mill in Lagos. Where did he buy it from? He bought it from Kebbi State. And as they are moving all that rice down to Lagos, from where we created massive revolution in the north, you're creating jobs all across the way. And when they mill that rice in Lagos, you get eco rice. But what people don't realize is that rice is not imported, from Thailand, or not imported from India. Here's what I'm talking about. Nigerian states trading with locally produced and processed commodities. That's the revolution. That is the transformation, creating jobs here and not exporting.